Still coming at you live from Marks Park right here in Emmerentia in Johannesburg. Now this is of course as we bring you the funeral of the late struggle stalwart Professor Kgositsile, who passed away on the 3rd of January. We understand that right now the procession from his family house in Soweto is now beginning to make its way to this specific venue where high dignitaries have already arrived here to come and witness this occasion. We are now joined by the Premier of Gauteng, David Makhura, and he'll tell us a bit more about Professor Kgositsile and the type of politician that he was. Now, Makhura, if you can just let us know that we do know that he was part of the ANC for a very long time, and he even went overseas and he spent a lot of time in exile. Can you just tell us about the type of person that Professor Kgositsile was?
Yeah, Professor Kgositsile was a freedom fighter par excellence. He basically pursued the struggle for freedom and democracy with all the arsenals he had, as is always well known that he was a poet. He wrote quite a lot expressing the aspirations of millions of our people to live in a country that is free, a country that is democratic, a country that's also free not only in the sense of political freedom, but free from all the human constraints always associated with hunger, disease, poverty, inequalities. So he was a wonderful man, and one of the important things that he really did was to elevate the importance of the sphere of arts and culture as a very important terrain in which the struggle must be pursued, including a terrain that requires significant transformation in our own country. And very often I think many people think that it is just enough to pay attention to the hard material things such as economy, infrastructure, housing. But it is as well very, very important if we want to be a fundamentally new country, fundamentally new society. We also have to pay attention to these issues of arts and culture, to the values of a society, how people live their lives, how people interact. And so he strived and struggled for a much more humane society, a society where human life is prime, is more important than anything else, and human relations, regardless of your origin, your gender, your nationality, a human being is a human being and should be regarded as such. So he was a true revolutionary in that sense.
And what important role did he play within the ANC?
He belongs to that special generation of ANC veterans, and his voice was always heard about what kind of country many of them sacrificed and struggled for. He continued to participate in ANC activities in many areas. He was also in the ANC amongst the leading people in the area of education. He was amongst the first people who participated in the establishment of the ANC Education Department in exile. He also led the establishment of the Arts and Culture Desk, and not only that they should be established, that these issues are very, very important in remaking and reshaping South Africa, that we should pay attention to the subliminal. We should pay attention to the soul of humanity, not just the heart, the mortar, brick and mortar issues. We should pay attention to those things that shape our consciousness. So he played a very, very important role. For me, in the province of Gauteng, he was a mentor. When he retired from government, he joined us at Ruth First House, where he was leading a group of young people, training them as researchers. But he was always around to guide us in one way or the other. And as I say, the voice of the poet was always there in him. And even as he is silent today, the poet is not dead, because his poetry continues to resonate throughout the country and throughout the world.
We do understand that President Jacob Zuma has said this will be a state funeral. What does that entail?
I think that's a mark of the level of respect and honor that Professor Kgositsile enjoys in our country. As you know, he was honored with conferment of the Order of Ikamanga. He is our National Poet Laureate, and that's very, very important because his contribution is amongst the finest in those South Africans who have dedicated their lives in making ours a much better country.
And you've described Professor Kgositsile as the man. To you, as the Premier and David Makhura, what will you miss most about him?
I think his poetry, his sense of humor, and his smile. His smile was very infectious. When he appears in a place, as you know, his demeanor, he was this man with a very small body. With his Castro-style beards, but the smile was much bigger all the time. Before he could say anything, he invited you to a conversation through his smile. I'll also miss his voice, his slow voice as he spoke, but his poetry remains, and that poetry will continue to inspire us. It was a poetry of hope. It was a poetry of dreams, and our country today enters a new period of hope, a new period in which South Africans must dream again, and we must dream big again. We must place South Africa at the helm of moving our continent forward. We must be proud as South Africans to build the country of our dreams. So he leaves us in the period where there's a resurgence of hope in our country.
Thank you very much. And that is the Premier of Gauteng, Premier David Makhura. Now, we do know that the procession has already left the family home in Soweto. They are beginning to make their way to this specific venue where a number of dignitaries have already arrived. We've managed to spot the Treasurer General of the ANC, Paul Mashatile. He's also made his way here. We do also know that the Premier is, of course, as well here, and family members have also made their way to this specific venue. We do know that this specific funeral service is expected to get underway at 9 o'clock. Now let's cross over to sports.